Hey guys, welcome back to Running Roman, where we talk about stay-at-home motherhood and everything else. I'm Mariah, and today I wanted to share with you guys my testimony and how I came to Christ. Growing up, I was one of three daughters. I have my older sister Ashley, my older sister Jenny, and then me. When I was in middle school, my parents ended up getting a divorce. I was told about their divorce by my sister Jenny. So that was kind of weird for me. I didn't understand why my parents didn't tell me, and I was kind of thinking like, oh, she must be joking. So of course I asked them and they said, no, it's for real. So that was like devastating to me. Anybody whose parents are divorced, you know like how devastating this could be to a child. And so that was really hard. I feel like my parents' divorce wasn't as normal as everybody else's because typically the mom gets the kids, but in my case, my dad ended up taking custody of me and my sisters. For the next couple of years, up into high school, I only saw my mom maybe a handful of times here and there. She would pop back into my life and, we would hang out and then she'd pop back out. Holidays would come and me and my sister Jenny, we wouldn't know if she was dead or alive. So we would go and we would check on her and come to find out she was alive, but she just, we weren't seeing her. So that was really hard for us growing up, not having her around. And then fast forward to high school, and my dad got remarried to my stepmom, and she had two daughters. So they ended up moving in with us. And because of that, my dad had to obviously be able to provide for the new family and everybody. So this was probably my junior year in high school, where he had to move away to a different state. So when he moved, me and Jenny lived with our stepmom, two stepsisters, for a year. And then Jenny ended up going to college, and it was just me living with my stepmom and two stepsisters. So that was kind of difficult for me. I ended up starting to date a guy my junior year in high school, and I would go over to his house all the time with his dad, and we would hang out. And eventually I started spending the night there because my dad wasn't home, Jenny was gone, so he was the only person that was around really. And my dad ended up calling me one day and was like, hey Mariah, I heard that you were spending the night at your boyfriend's house, so what's going on? And I was like, well, yeah, Dad, what do you want me to do? You're not here, Jenny's not here, I live with my stepmom and my stepsisters. I'm, going somewhere that I actually feel loved and that I am wanted. And of course he, was a parent and told me like, oh, I need to go back home and this and that. So instead of arguing, I just said, okay, that's fine. I won't spend the night anymore. But I did. So I dated that guy 2 years in high school. And then if you fast forward, I'm still dating him 4 years later. At this time, I had moved in with him, his dad, his brother. So I had been living with all of them. Me, him, and his dad. We all moved to Port St. Lucie together because at the time I was modeling and he was doing MMA. But Port St. Lucie ended up being a place where a lot changed. I started realizing in my relationship the toxicity of it, how we were mentally and physically abusive to each other. It was just such a bad relationship. Of course, when you're living with somebody, you're engaging in things that married couples should only do. And I started to feel really bad and uneasy about my relationship, and I didn't know why. So at this time, Jenny had moved to Tampa, and she told me like, oh, I started going to church and I got saved and this and that. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I would call her and I'd ask her for advice on my relationship. And I would tell her, I'm feeling really bad about this situation or that situation, or we're doing this and I feel really about it. And she would tell me like, well, why don't you start trying to read the Bible? I think she told me to read John and start praying more. So growing up, I thought I was a Christian. I would go to church on Sundays and, I'd go to church camp every summer. So I was like, oh, I'm definitely a Christian. I do these things. So of course I am, I'm saved. And then I started, reading the Bible more like she said, and I started to pray more, and I started to realize like, wow, what I'm feeling is conviction. Like I feel bad that I'm doing these things because the Bible says I'm not supposed to. So all of this eventually led to me breaking up with my boyfriend at the time, which was a good thing. I thought I was doing it because, I wanted to serve God and I wanted to love him. But right whenever I broke up, I felt like I had this newfound found freedom. This was the first time I was single since I was 15, and now I'm 21 years old, and I can go out and I can do things, and I can party, meet guys, and I got into all of the bad stuff. Guys, partying, drug, everything. And instead of going towards Christ like I thought I was going to, I went completely the opposite way. And then one day Jenny called me and she was like, hey, so what's going on? How are you? With the whole situation, you breaking up and whatever. So we talked a little bit, and she ended up asking me if I wanted to move to Tampa. Guys, I'm not lying to you when I tell you this. My whole life from my senior year, I wanted to move to Tampa. I wanted to go to the University of South Florida, and I never did it because my ex didn't want to. I always stayed around and I did stuff for him to please him because at the time, he was my God. I wanted to please him. I wanted to be around him the most. So when Jenny asked me, do I want to move to Tampa? I was thinking, of course I do. Yeah, let's do it. So I went up once or twice looking for apartments with her, and we found one. And then the day came where we were supposed to move, and my dad came down to help me move up to Tampa from Port St. Lucie. And I remember telling my dad, I was like, Dad, I know Jenny's into this like whole church thing and like going to church and like loving the Lord, but I don't want her to make me do that. Like, I don't want to go to church. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want her to make me, godly or whatever, because I have my own relationship with God. And so, needless to say, we move up on a Friday, and that Sunday, I hear her getting ready for church. I'm listening, and I'm awake in my bed, and I'm laying there, and I'm like, she's getting ready for church. I'm glad she hasn't came in here yet. And then right when I'm thinking that, boom, she peeks her head in my door. She's like, hey, Mariah, so I'm going to go to church. I was just wondering if you wanted to go with me. But before I could think anything, I was like, yeah, of course I'll go. And then, crap, in my head, I'm like, are you kidding me? Mariah, you just said you didn't want to go, and now you're going to tell her yes? You can't take it back now because you already said yes. So, and before I could tell her no, she was like, okay, great. And then she walked out of my room. So in my head, I'm having this battle, like, I don't want to go to church. I don't want to sit here and worship God. Like, I don't want to do that. In my heart, I was hating God. I didn't want to be around him. I have this newfound freedom. I want to do what I want. But that day, looking back, was the day that my life completely changed. It's insane. It gives me goosebumps even talking about it. That day at church, I finally heard the gospel for the first time. Like I said, I went to church before, but this day was different. I got to hear how God sent his son to live a perfect life, perfect sinless life, to only come down to die a horrific, excruciating death, to take my place on the cross. To take my place on the cross. And for what reason? I don't deserve that. I'm the most undeserving. I felt like I was the most sinful. I was disgusting. I had sinned. I was engaged with premarital sex, drugs, everything you could think of. And yet, he died for me? It was unfathomable. It was, to me, even now to this day, I'm so grateful that he saved me. And it's only by God's grace was I saved. It was nothing that I did. I don't deserve it. I still don't deserve it to this day. But by God's grace, he saved me. And I look back and I can't believe everything he's brought me through to bring me to this day. It's insane. I could literally feel my heart being transformed after that day. I wanted to glorify God with all that I did. I wanted to serve my church. I wanted to bring people to the Lord. I wanted to tell everybody I knew the good news of the gospel, that he came down and died for sinners like me and sinners like you, to be just resurrected 3 days later, to defeat death itself. Like, this is such good news. And so that day, my heart's transforming, and since then, I can feel God working in me and continuing to sanctify me and grow me closer to him. And I wanted to share this with you guys. I hope that my testimony helps you all in any way, bring you closer to the Lord, to know him just a little bit better, to know the good things that he does for us, how he guides us through the hard times. Testimonies are always growing and they never end. Now I'm a wife to a godly husband who fears the Lord, who loves the Lord. I'm a mother to my amazing son. I'm so blessed. I don't know what God has in store for me. but I can't wait to see how else I can impact others' lives with my testimony, with my story, and hopefully bring them closer to the Lord. Question of the day: what's your testimony? How is God working in your lives? I want to know. Put it in the comments below. If it's something more personal, you can shoot me an email. I'd love to talk to you guys more about this. My email is going to be in the description below. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and donating to my Patreon page so I can make more videos like this one. I love you guys and I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next week.